Hello Antioch, I'm Alex John Astorga, and I'm your candidate for Antioch City Council, District 4. Today's topic is going to be about public safety in the Antioch Police Department. Why did I choose that as my first topic? Because you asked for it. As I was walking around my neighborhood here in District 4 and talking to my neighbors, every one of you wanted to discuss the Antioch Police Department for one reason or another. So that is why I decided this was going to be my first video. Now let's define the issue. Well, I see it as a relationship issue, in so much as there's a breakdown in trust between our Antioch Police Department and the residents here in Antioch, and it goes both ways. This is not just peculiar to Antioch. As you've seen across the United States through the news, that this is happening everywhere. And this is also a pivotal issue for this election cycle. So how did we get here? Well, it took decades. Every year we would pile more and more onto our Antioch Police Department and give them fewer and fewer resources to deal with these problems. This became an untenable and unsustainable situation, and this is why we're in the position that we're in today, and we need to do something about it. So let me talk about an example of how maybe this situation was fixed in a private corporation. When I was down in Southern California, I was working for an energy company, and I was working at an oil refinery. One of the things that struck me as I first started working there was the fact that they talked about safety all of the time. There were safety bulletin boards and safety floor mats and safety briefings, and every meeting starting with a safety minute. And it just was this total barrage of safety message. It took me a little bit of time to sit down and finally think about, well, what do we do here? Well, on an oil refinery, you make things that burn really, really well. And if you should make a bad decision or a quick decision that was not correct, you could cost people a lot of people's lives. So maybe safety was a great thing to think about. Well, that was there. I eventually went to work at the corporate headquarters for this same energy company. And when I got there, the same message was there. Safety, safety, safety. From the C-suite all the way down to every office in that complex, we talked about safety constantly. This gave me the idea that, oh my gosh, this is a complete cultural shift. This is taking the paradigm that had existed before and changing the minds of everyone that worked there. With this shift in corporate culture, this paradigm shift, this way of reimagining safety, they were able to imagine zero is possible. Were they able to achieve zero every year? Not every year, but that was their goal every year, was to get to zero. So when they weren't able to get there, what they would practice is something called root cause analysis. This is something that we use in the IT industry that I use and I participated in, root cause analysis. So when you do have an incident, you actually get down and dig down and try and figure out what was the root cause of this, and then do everything you can to minimize that cause. They call it the Swiss cheese model. So you can have several layers of Swiss cheese: training, practice, job expertise, all these things. And you want to make sure there's no holes in the Swiss cheese that aren't covered by something else. So root cause analysis is something that we use in the IT industry all the time. When we try and figure out, okay, so we had an incident. What was the root cause of this incident? So root cause analysis is another thing that I would like to have instituted with the city and the police department. And you have to be open to it as well. If you cover it up and you don't practice it correctly, then root cause analysis doesn't help you. This is something that this is one of the things that I'd really like to see happen with the city and with the police department. This is what I would like to do right here with city government and with the city police department. I want us to have a paradigm shift, or a shift in thinking, the way we address public safety. So who's going to do this? I would like our Antioch Police Department to take the lead role in this. I don't expect them to know everything, So if they need to hire an outside contractor to give us a framework to work with so that we can define what public safety is for Antioch and how we think about public safety in the city of Antioch. I don't want to wait for some state mandate or for some federal mandate to come down and change the way we do business. I want us to do that here right now and make it fit for purpose for Antioch. So what is that going to look like? The way I'd like to see it evolve is with three major principles: transparency, standards, and accountability. Transparency to protect the officers and to protect the city of Antioch. Standards so that everyone is very clear about how we go about policing and how we go about public safety. And then accountability. That's quite normal. Any organization that you work at, you have to be accountable for your actions. That being said, what we are asking of the police department is not just a normal day-to-day type of job. They have to make really big decisions and they have to be very accurate making these decisions. That's why training is going to be paramount. We need to have constant and ongoing training with our officers so that when they're faced with that insurmountable situation and have to make that instantaneous decision, they make the correct decision every time. So on that rare occasion when the right decision is not the first decision, then yes, we need to have qualified immunity. The way we use qualified immunity today is not the way we need to be using it in the future. It needs to be a rare situation, and also it needs to be reassessed how to apply that by today's standards. So the social services calls that are given to the Antioch Police Department need to be better handled by social services professionals. So homeless engagement counselors, drug addiction therapists, domestic disturbance arbitrators, and mental health specialists. These need to be the first responders to these types of calls. So as this new paradigm is being implemented, what can we do in the immediate future? Well, first off, we can stop killing people. I know that sounds kind of harsh, but zero is possible. This is what happened at the energy company that I worked for, and I think that when we change our thinking about this, it sounds impossible at this point, but this is the goal that we need to strive for. Zero is possible. 2, de-escalation training. We shouldn't be sending our police officers to combat training. I was in the military. The job that the military is asked to do is different than the job that we're asking for our police department. Proper vetting of our officers so that we're not getting some officer that's escaping disciplinary action at another police department. And then finally, transferring of social services calls away from the police department to the county social services. If this means the city of Antioch needs to participate in these county social services, having an office right here in Antioch, then that's what we need to do. We need to take away, de-escalate, vet, and stop killing people. Thank you for watching my video to the end. I hope this helps you better understand part of my political platform and what I hope to accomplish if elected to Antioch City Council. Thank you very much again, and please go out and vote. Alex Astorga for Antioch.